the fact sheet. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions that we would like to make at this time? Or?
I think based on the article in the Union Leader a couple of weeks ago, the kids that have started in Manchester are going to be able to finish where they want, or finish at their current school. We should probably update that.
Madam Chair,
We have that it's under question 2.
Yeah.
It says that the Manchester superintendent is not anticipating any changes to current practice.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I believe that was the meeting we were having until time.
Okay.
I was just going to comment that that's the language that I thought we should keep. I thought Mr. Kimbrough was moving to change that.
No. Actually, I think Cheryl had it there originally, and then now it's back on, so it's good.
About any questions that were arisen today about, or tonight, about aligning curriculum, or if there is a problem that arises with a high school student from the satellite, do we feel that that's anything that we want to address at this time? Or?
So I think the curriculum is really an administration issue, because currently, I don't think there's any way you can teach 5 different curriculums, to be truthful. I mean, I know with the core stuff coming up, it'll be a little bit easier. But I think where Ms. Legere came with that from is that I know that our kids are currently, for lack of a better term, coached up to go to Manchester and the transition to their curriculum. So some of the kids that went to some of the other schools this year are having a little bit of difficulty, just because obviously the programs aren't the same at all the different schools. So I think that was our concern, but again, I think that's something that comes down, if we end up with an anchor school, I think you have to teach to their curriculum. You can't teach to 5 or 6 different, or have our administrators meet with 5 or 6 different districts to try to figure out how the kids are going to be taught. So
that might be something that gets added to our high school issues that we need to look at going forward. Maybe premature for us to answer that question. That's just my opinion. Mr. Roscars.
I mean, I understand the overall concept there, but I mean, credit to our school system, and especially our middle school leading up to high school. We have a lot of success at these different satellite schools, if you want to call them, Bow, Pembroke, Londonderry, so hats off to this administration for basically our curriculum, which is aligned with Manchester. But the bottom line is just about all of these high schools, even though their curriculums may differ slightly, Algebra 2 is Algebra 2, and you're either prepared or you're not. French 1, Spanish 1. So yeah, ideally, you're aligned with your district, and that's what you do with your, your core sending district, receiving district. But to the point of it's any worse at the satellite schools, I disagree.
Well, I would also add that, with recent developments in Manchester, they're going to be creating their own curriculum standards. So I think it's going to be something that is going to be kind of all over the board anyway. And I don't think, to the second question, that it's proper for us to say that we, as a school board, can't assist if there's problems at the satellite schools. We have no contractual power, but I don't think it would be proper to say that we can't assist. I'm sure if a problem was made aware of us, we might ask the administration to contact the school and see if there was a solution. So I don't think it would be proper to say that we couldn't or wouldn't assist.
Well, do we want to state that? I mean, that's probably in better terms of kind of what I meant, but the actual way it should be written. Do we want to add that?
no, I think that's
Fact sheet or not?
I think it's common sense. I think we're good. Again, I think it gets back to the issue of one of the issues that came up last year when we had some difficulty with Manchester was the fact we don't have representation on their board, which if Pinkerton ends up being an anchor, we have the satellites, we would have representation on the board of trustees, which obviously gives you more weight than just calling up and saying, we have a problem.
Well, I just heard Mr. Denbo make that point many times, so just want to say the success that we now have history with these satellite schools, Pembroke, Londonderry, Bow, goes to show you that you don't need representation. It is an ideal. We asked for it for Manchester, and it's part of their charter. They wouldn't allow it, and they voted not to have added that. But is it a deal breaker? It's not a deal breaker. The bottom line is, if you only have a small representation on the board, many times some things that are common sense can get shut down if you only have a minority viewpoint. And that can happen on any kind of a board that you're on. So I think it's nice that you have representation from your community on a board, but it's not a deal breaker. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
I think we should add some language describing an MOU. I think that it's important. I've had some conversations with members of the public, and my understanding of a tuition MOU is that the school cannot assign to that school. The assignment has to be initiated by the parent. And this is one of the reasons that I wanted to have a meeting with the public so that we could share some of these facts, because I think that goes a long way to kind of answering the question, are we trying to sneak something in here, and are we going to be sending kids where parents don't want them to go? Well, my view is not with the MOUs, we're not. And I think that is something that we should explain to the public, and it may satisfy some of the anxiety they might have about these MOUs before we actually vote on them.
So maybe if it's something like, what are the differences between a contract and an MOU? Would that be, describe it well enough? Like the things you can do with an MOU and you can't do?
Well, I think with our Q&A format here, we would have to just break it down into one or more questions. And I would think the question would be there, can school administration assign a student to a satellite school under an MOU? And I think the answer would be no. So I think that, and again, I don't want to, at this point, I can't discuss conversations that we've had in non-meetings. So if Dr. Littlefield agrees that that statement's correct, then I think we could consider it.
Yeah, oops, I'm sorry. The real difference is between the tuition agreement and an MOU is that the school district, Hooksett School District, is under no obligation to send anybody to that receiving school district. There's no commitment on the part of the Hooksett School District. That's the major difference. The reason why a tuition agreement has to go before the voters is because the district is committing to sending youngsters to that receiving school district. That commitment is not in an MOU. So it might be the same thing worded a different way. And MOUs can be for a shorter period of time.
And so what you're saying is there would be no minimums,
Correct?
and administration would not assign unless the parents requested the assignment.
Parents request the assignment.
They initiate the process, and then the school administration would approve, correct? Is that where?
I wouldn't say that. Yeah, I mean, because that's part of what's really being negotiated. Because the last thing on earth, as I've said to people, I raised 4 kids. if satellite schools were accepting kids, nobody would have taken my youngest. And he would have been a student without a school. So it is America, and I don't anticipate that there will be a selection process. The selection will take place. I mean, what I'm advocating for in negotiations is the selection is made by our parents. And that is selected to go to that satellite school. So I'd just be a little careful with that.
Okay, so I guess, will the mechanism be that there is a vote of this board or any form of formal approval, or we're just out of it?
Well, I'm sorry, we have to talk about that. I mean, once we approve the contract, we have to talk about how we're going to implement it. And to be honest with you, as I close my eyes and I say, in a perfect world, if the 3 MOUs and the Pinkerton contract were to be approved by the board, I would envision a very simple process. And in that simple process, every kid would be assigned to Pinkerton. And then the parent would have a form that says, high school request form. I don't want my kid to go to Pinkerton. I would rather have him go to check one. Bow, Londonderry, Manchester, Pembroke. And then it's done.
Maybe we're